Welcome back to the Mama Bear Diaries. I'm your host, Deborah Giesling, and today we're on primer number 6 about serious mental illness, and we're talking about housing first, why it's just not enough, what's missing, what do we need for housing. As always, I just want to remind you, I'm not a doctor. I have no letters after my name, so don't take anything I say as medical advice. I'm a mom and I'm an advocate. And when our nonprofit grows and I'm able to hire staff to do all the tech work on my podcast and videos, well, you'll see a huge upgrade. But for now, it's me and my microphone and my laptop. So thanks for staying with me and thanks for listening. This is a real important topic, one that we don't talk about enough. And I wanted to bring up a subject that is near and dear to my heart, housing, and near and dear to my husband's heart. About 10 years ago, a friend of mine sent an article to me about housing first, and it was in the USA Today, and it talked about how Utah had almost basically just solved homelessness. They wiped out homelessness in the state of Utah using this new model called Housing First, which in a nutshell means that you just take people who are living on the streets and you find them a house. You get them in a house and then you provide the wraparound services that they need. Sounds really easy, right? Simple. Well, we all jumped on board all across the United States. Our federal government did as well, and soon the incentive for funding and grant money was all about doing housing first. And it had a huge effect on nonprofits all over this country and how we created housing. And guess what? It didn't work. We still have people on the streets. If you just go into downtown Phoenix, go to LA, go to New York, go to any major city in any state, and we still have a homelessness problem. In fact, it's increasing because we don't have the infrastructure in place to provide all the supports that people need who have disabilities and substance use issues. It's not realistic. But I guess it's our human nature to kind of latch on to these things and go rah rah, and we apply this one size fits all model in government always. I don't know what it is about us, we just do it, and it's not enough. It's just a drop in the bucket, and it really doesn't work for the sickest. It really doesn't. And so my husband and I, for the past same amount of time, the past 10 years, have had a desire to pursue opening a home, a desire to pursue a new model. It's not a one size fits all, definitely, and it's not going to solve everything. We need all kinds of levels of housing, but we really believe there are some people who would benefit from a congregate style housing where there is staff on site, and but the model's quite different, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But that's always been our heart. I have served on different boards, and I was on a joint legislative psychiatric hospital committee that was tasked with looking at data in our state in Arizona, kind of looking at what was going on with our hospital system, with our housing. And we listened to testimony from families. We got information from our agencies, and it was crystal clear. The need is profound. I don't need to read any more articles. I don't need any more citations. We know it. We all know that this is a problem, and there's not a meaningful effort, I think, nationwide or statewide to change this. There are pockets of things going on, but and I'm certainly not going to solve it. My husband's not going to solve it with our organization, but we are going to pursue filling the gap that we see in people with serious mental illness who need long-term housing. Most of the housing is transitional. Most of our effort is spent on crisis care and shoring up that system. And I've always asked this question: what happens after that? Where do these individuals live? And how are we assisting them to move into the community, to get jobs? I mean, one statistic that just boggles my mind: in Arizona, only 13% of people who have schizophrenia in Arizona are employed. That is sad. It should not be. My son, who struggles with schizophrenia, has had a job for the past 6 years, a part-time job. He's done very well. He had an employer that worked with him and gave him a shot. And you know what? He rose to it. And just the structure of getting up every day and going to work for a few hours and having a routine has been so beneficial to him. It's also benefited the people who are working with him, because they learned how to work with somebody who struggles with a disability. But he's really done very well. In fact, one of the employees a few weeks ago told him that he was the backbone of the morning shift. And I really think he is. He goes in there and he gets the pizza dough ready for the day. He weighs it, and he has a list of things that he's got to do, and he gets it done. And I tell him all the time, you are getting food ready for hundreds of people every week. You know, what you do is so important, and it is. And we want to see more of that. We want to see more people do that. And, I think the government pushes this model, and some of our organizations push this peer model where people with mental illness work in the homes, work with people with serious mental illness, and in some measure that works. There's been success stories with that, and I don't want to knock that. But I think we need people who can mentor individuals. The person who helped my son get a job was a man in our church that we asked, and he mentored my son in job applications and walked him through the whole interview process at this restaurant where he now works. And that involves people in the community doing things. And so that's just one piece of it. But for one of the key pillars of our home, we've got 5 main pillars that we want to focus on. And one of them is employment and entrepreneurship. There is so many people that I've learned about through our caregiver support group. Their family members have these amazing gifts and talents, and they're not using them. They have nowhere to showcase them or invest in the community. And so how can we foster that? We want to foster that. We don't want to have individuals tucked away somewhere in a group home, and staff just goes in, sits at a desk, which is what currently happens, and interacts with them here and there and talks with them here and there, but doesn't teach them how to cook, doesn't help them with basic life skills. Even though all of these places, they advertise, we help with life skills. No, they don't. I've never seen it. I'm sorry, but I've never seen it. So that's one of the features of our home. We want to have a different kind of culture. We want to have a culture where the individual's friends and families are included and involved in the home, where we have pizza nights, we have Italian nights, we have volunteers come in and cook for the staff, and we have fun events. I saw it's ironic because the former head of SAMHSA posted this on LinkedIn today. He posted an article about how could campfires help with mental health. They had to do an article and a study on this. Think about that. God created us for community. He created us for building our lives with one another. And that's not always easy, But these are just natural things, natural supports that we've kind of taken and institutionalized. We're probably going to start something called campfire therapy, when actually it's just something that God's given us to enjoy. And how much more important would that be to enjoy together? So why not have a s'mores night in the backyard? Just simple things like that don't happen in these homes currently. And mentorship, again, I mentioned friends, family, employment, entrepreneurship, mentorship, and counseling. Also, a connection to the faith community. There's been many studies done by individuals with serious mental illness who say that that faith has gotten them through things, that faith has helped them, that that's very important to them, and they want a connection to that. We want to bridge that gap with them. And then we also believe that people that have a serious mental illness, why aren't we engaging them with the arts, leisure, and hobbies? Why aren't we engaging them in that? I think one of the saddest things I've seen is that one of the symptoms of schizophrenia is just a lack of engagement, a lack of wanting to do things and motivation, and that kind of becomes an excuse. That kind of becomes an excuse to not try, to not creatively figure out a way to engage a person in, hey, we're going to have a bowling night. Hey, we're going to a symphony. My son loves the symphony. And quite a few years back, I got tickets for the group home he was living in at the time. And the staff member was super innovative and creative, and he took all the men to this symphony. It was at Christmas time. I got the sweetest thank you note from these men. One of the men even told me he cried. And on the way home, this staff member told me he had amazing conversations with these men, and just engaging with music in the community. That, for the most part, is not happening with these individuals. A housing first model takes these individuals, puts them in a house, most likely an apartment, 4 walls and a roof, and we say, yeah, we've done it. We sign them to a case manager who comes to visit maybe once every week if you're lucky, but usually once every month, just to make sure they're taking their medications. They engage with them, they talk with them for 15 minutes, and they can bill for that 15 minutes as engagement. That's how the government incentivizes our current system. And it's not a natural way that God designed human beings to interact with one another. I also think my youngest son, he and I exchange Instagram reels all the time about pets, and he loves pets. And he sent me one. It was very sweet. It was this older couple who had a home for cats that were 10 years old and older. It was kind of like a retirement home for cats. Their entire house and outside was designed for these cats. And they had creatively put together things that would engage these cats, their little brains, and get them moving, get them going. And they also had spaces for them where they just needed to chill and relax. And I thought it was so amusing that they would do this for cats. And so you see so many of these kind of stories for animals. And I think, who is doing that for people with schizophrenia? What? The brain is involved here. And yet we're just offloading these individuals like they're nothing, like they're cattle, and not even having a concern about how can we figure out innovative ways to help them, other than, everybody touts cognitive behavioral therapy. As far as I know, that's just simply talking to somebody, or they sit at a computer and they do some kind of sort of games on the computer. That's great. But really, where is the human interaction? And so those are the kind of basic things that we are looking at for the type of home that we want to do. And we want to do this outside of this current system. We want to do this privately, and we want to involve you. We want to find ways for people in our community to participate and to kind of give back. I think about this weekend, it's the 4th of July weekend, and we are celebrating freedoms that many other countries envy, that they want to come here because we are so um, able to do things they're not. Somebody else paid that price for us to have this freedom. Somebody else fought and thought about us. They laid down their lives so that we could be free. And what are we doing with that freedom? What about people who need to be free from their delusions, free from a criminal justice system that they don't belong in? What are we doing to improve the quality of their life? These are people who cannot give back. They're not cats. They're human beings, and they need our help. And I think we owe it to them, and I think we should do a darn good job and not just settle for them being in a home or a room and no one's engaging with them. That just shouldn't be. So housing first, rah rah, another thing we got behind, just like the community, everybody's going to be in the community, everybody's going to be independent, rah rah, it sounds great. But you know what? We're missing from the equation. We are missing. And it's time to change that. So stick around here. We're going to be talking much more about that. So, and I would be remiss if I did not let you hear the rest of my music. This is my oldest son, by the way, in case I haven't mentioned it, like in every podcast. He's a fantastic guitar player. Well, Brown Eyes, this is all for you. You are the inspiration. You are the hero and rock star behind all of that. Everything I've learned from you. God is using your life more than you know to help other people. I love you. Happy 4th of July out there, everybody.